With me is State Senator Martin Golden, City Councilman Vincent Gentile, who gave us information directly leading to this investigation, as did Josephine Beckman, who's the District Manager of Community Boards 10. And we have also Assemblywoman Millman and Councilman Steve Levin with us as well. And, of course, Chief of the Rackets Bureau, Mike Vecchione, Laura Neubauer, who's the Executive Assistant DA, and she's in charge of our Sex Trafficking Bureau. And all of our Chief Investigator, Joe Ponzi. We have people, Captain Natalie Maldonado, where is she?
She's up in the corner.
Hi, Captain, how are you? Good. And Special Agent James Hayes, who's the agent in charge of the U.S. Immigration, Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security. Forcing a woman to become a sex worker and portraying her instead as a masseuse simply doesn't avoid the penal sanction against promoting prostitution. The exploitation of women, forcing them to be sex workers, remains a problem which affects many young women throughout the country, and certainly here in Brooklyn, where we have indicted 65 alleged pimps and convicted 28 pimps. More recently, we received information that sex trafficking in Brooklyn was hidden behind the legitimacy of day spas or massage parlors. This morning, we have unsealed indictments charging the defendants were operating 2 separate prostitution rings. These businesses, we allege, were offering the services of sex workers and fronting as day spas and massage therapy businesses. The first indictment came from information given to us by a sex worker who was severely beaten by one of the defendants. And accordingly, in that case, the grand jury voted to charge the crime of sex trafficking and related crimes against the Zhang Lu sex worker ring. The ring regularly advertised on Craigslist.com, Backpage.com, and Rubmaps.com using the names of various massage therapy businesses. They operated out of locations in Brooklyn Heights and Greenpoint, and we allege that customers paid sex workers in cash or by a credit card. We further allege that the ring laundered these transactions through what appeared to be legitimate businesses, thus concealing their true source, and then further laundered the money through the bank accounts of associate spas in Florida, Texas, and New Hampshire. The profits from these spas were then commingled with money from the Brooklyn locations, further concealing the true source of the money. The most serious charge of sex trafficking stems from an assault on a woman forced to offer sex. It's alleged that she was beaten by Young Feng Sang. The second indictment involves promoting prostitution and related crimes operated by the Drevecka-Talco sex worker ring. The ring was operated by Natalie Drevecka and Sergei Talco, with businesses in Bay Ridge and Dyker Heights in Brooklyn. We were supplied information by State Senator Golden and Councilman Vinnie Gentile, Community Board 10's District Manager Josephine Beckman. And in these cases, customers paid by cash or credit card, and these transactions were laundered through a business account held in the name of Beauty Connection Day Spa, Inc., a purportedly legitimate business which used the tainted money to conduct its operations. The purpose was to conceal the true source of the money. The ring regularly advertised on Craigslist.com and Backpage.com, accompanied by pictures that were so explicit and graphic that there was no doubt that the service to be provided was sex, not massage therapy. These arrests are the result of a 1-year joint investigation conducted by the Special Investigation Unit of my office and Brooklyn South Vice Unit of the NYPD. The operation used physical surveillance and undercover work. With the assistance of the Mayor's Office on Special Enforcement, search warrants were executed at every location, and what was recovered is being analyzed as part of our continuing investigation. In addition, my office is working with the NYPD's Civil Enforcement Unit to close these locations through the use of the New York City nuisance abatement laws. The investigation will continue with cases being presented to the grand jury where appropriate. And the role of the grand jury will be to investigate whether any of the women connected to this operation are victims of human trafficking. My office's Victim Services Unit, our counseling service, will examine the status of each woman arrested for prostitution so that appropriate programs and services can be made available to them. Our policy consistently has been to offer alternatives to prosecution for women who are charged with prostitution. I want to thank Community Board 10, its director, Josephine Beckman, its former chair, Joanne Seminara, as well as State Senator Martin Golden, and City Councilman Vinnie Gentili for their help and support. I want to thank also Community Boards 1 and 2, their directors Christopher Olachowski and John Dew, as well as their managers Gerald Esposito, Robert Perez, as well as City Councilman Stephen Levin and Assemblywoman Joan Millman for their help and support. And I want to thank, of course, Police Commissioner Ray Kelly and the NYPD's Brooklyn South Vice Unit with Inspector Donald Lyons and here today, Captain Natalie Maldonado. Also want to thank Special Agent in charge of New York's Office of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security, James T. Hayes, for the assistance they gave us for the operation. And of course, thanks too to Chief Mark Doyle of the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department for his department and its assistance as well. It is our hope that these arrests will send a message throughout Brooklyn that our office shares the concerns of residents across the county regarding these so-called day spas and massage therapists, and we will not tolerate illicit operations that exploit women and adversely affect neighborhoods. Senator Golden. Excuse me.
I would like to thank our District Attorney Hynes, for taking the initiative and going into our communities. We have our Community Board Chair here from Bay Ridge and Dyker and Councilman Gentili, and I will tell you, in just Community Board 10, I believe there are 31 locations that have been cited over the past several months that have been existing in our communities over the last year. These investigations are going on for a year to close these locations down. This is going to send a signal to each one of the stores that are in Community Board 10, Community Board 11, down through the entire areas of Brooklyn and Queens and Staten Island, the Bronx, and Manhattan, that we're not going to take this any longer. We're going to go in there, we're going to seize these locations, and there's legislation in Albany that I hope to work with my colleagues in the Assembly and making sure that we get passed. Human trafficking is a bill that should have been passed a long time ago, and we're going to work to make sure that we get that bill passed next year. And the other is to make sure that we have some type of limitations on these stores, that they have licenses, and that the Department of Consumer Affairs will have the tools to go out and to close these locations down before they even get started. So without the help of the District Attorney here today, without the good work of his office, so these places would still be flourishing. We're sending a message out. We're not going to take it any longer. And I'm glad to be joined here with the Homeland Security ICE Investigator Hayes and all of my colleagues in government, and of course NYPD and the investigators here from the District Attorney's Office. Thank you, District Attorney Hynes. Thank you for all the good work you've done. There's a lot more to be done yet, and we're going to take them, we're going to close them, and we're going to lock them up.
Thanks, Senator. Councilman Gentili.
Thank you. I want to thank the District Attorney for being willing, ready, and able to take on an investigation of this type, both in the neighborhoods that I represent and Senator Golden represents, but also in other parts of Brooklyn, too. I want to thank their staff, the DA's staff, the ICE, and all the NYPD officers who together have put together this investigation, have resulted in these indictments. Because this is a as the DA said, this is a multi-level type of crime. You have the money laundering aspect, you have the sex trafficking aspect, and you have the prostitution aspect of this operation. And these crimes are crimes against the women who are the subjects of the sex trafficking, but also the quality of life crimes of where these places are in the neighborhood. So this is something that we have seen blossom in the last year or year and a half, and it's been the DA's office that we've gone to, myself, Josephine Beckman, the Community Board 10, the Senator, and the other elected officials, Joan Millman and Steve Levin, and the DA's office has responded, resulting in the type of action we're taking today, and hopefully we'll be taking, I know we'll be taking in time to come, because this issue needs to be followed up. So, Ms. DA, thank you for your ability to do this and your willingness to work with us.
Great, thank you. Josephine Beckman.
Thank you. I, too, would like to thank the District Attorney on behalf of the Community Board 10, which represents the communities of Bay Ridge, Dyker Heights, and Fort Hamilton, as well as our elected officials, State Senator Golden and Councilman Gentili. You know, our offices are located on commercial strips within the district, and when we hear community residents' concerns about these types of establishments and concerns for women and sex trafficking and human trafficking and just day-to-day quality of life issues, you know, we're responsive. And we're delighted that we were able to reach out to our DA, to our local police, and work together and examine this issue, this problem, and move forward with legislation to protect all and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember Joan Millman.
Too many M's, huh? Good morning, or good afternoon, almost. I'm really very pleased to be here today and thank all the people behind me, and particularly our DA, Joe Hynes, for this operation. Because when I first read about it and was really horrified to read about how many of these locations had popped up in Bay Ridge, I have to tell you, I was frankly shocked to find out that one of them has popped up in downtown Brooklyn as well. So what we're seeing here today is the acknowledgement that it isn't just in one area of the city, in one area of our borough. All of our neighborhoods could be subject to this, so we have to nip it in the bud. And I'm telling Senator Golden, who's standing behind me, that he has my cooperation when we go back to Albany in January to work on that bill, to make it a crime and give us more teeth. But without the people that are standing behind me and all these people who went after these people, and as a woman, I have to tell you, some of these young women felt they had no choice. Whatever happened to them, they felt that they had no choice. And what we will be doing, hopefully for them in the future, is showing them that they do have a choice and they don't have to spend their lives in this miserable kind of environment, which is only lining the pockets of some people who are bad actors from beginning to end. So thank you to all the people who worked on this. We have a lot more to do.
Thank you. And Council Member Steve Levin.
Thank you, DA Hynes. I want to acknowledge your very good work in conjunction with the NYPD and Department of Homeland Security in making sure that that this scourge on our city is eradicated. I have the unfortunate distinction of both representing downtown Brooklyn and Greenpoint, where these two locations were found. And I just want to make it clear that we as a city need to further the message to everyone out there that is purveying human trafficking, that we won't stand for it. This isn't who we are as a city, and that we were going to act aggressively to eradicate this, both from the law enforcement angle and from the legislative angle. But I really want to commend DA Hynes for taking this initiative and getting the message out there that these purveyors of horrible crimes, human trafficking is among the worst things that happen in our city, that they will find no quarter here, and that they will be aggressively pursued and prosecuted. So thank you very much, DA Hynes, and keep up the good work. Thanks.
And I think the very good news happened today with the meeting in my office when Senator Golden had mentioned that this sex trafficking bill has been introduced many times. And I think that Assemblywoman Joan Millman, who's one of the senior members of the Assembly, not by age, but by term, you know, has said what she said out here, that she's going to help Senator Golden with this legislation. And I think the good people in the Assembly are going to finally understand that this is a problem that exists across the city, and it's got to be addressed in a very aggressive way.
Well, we're looking at quite serious penalties here. We have Senator Andy Lanza, who has taken the lead this past year in getting the bill adopted in the Senate and moved. The gentleman that used to carry it for a lot of years was Senator Frank Padovan from Queens, and it was prevalent, this type of crime, unfortunately, in other areas around the city. this county took it extremely seriously and went right after it.
Some of the key features of the new bill are enhanced sentences for the sex trafficking law. So it changes the level of felony that sex trafficking is now from a B felony to a B violent felony, which is appropriate. It has enhanced sentences for patronizers of underage commercial sex workers. It allows for special investigative techniques to be used in promoting prostitution cases, where it's very technical, where you might have difficulty initially showing probable cause for sex trafficking, but you do have promoting prostitution, as in a lot of these locations, and you want to go in with maybe possible wiretaps or surveillance. And it also increases sentencing for labor trafficking, and those are the key features, essentially. Oh, I'm sorry. The most important feature is it makes somebody guilty per se sex trafficking if the victim is underage. Right now, you still have to show that if a victim is under the age of 18 years old, you have to show force, fraud, or coercion in promoting their prostitution. The new bill makes it per se sex trafficking. If they're underage, the individual is guilty of sex trafficking, whether it was by force, fraud, or coercion, or consent.
Yeah.
Mr. Attorney, just with this part 2 and also part 1 of your takedown here, just speaking about Brooklyn, obviously this is a problem. How much of a dent have you put into this problem, speaking just of Brooklyn?
I think it's going to have a considerable effect as people begin to realize in other parts of the county that this is a common problem within the county, and it's clearly not only a vicious, despicable thing that is being done, but it has a horrible effect on quality of life. So I think, the reaction of Assemblymember Millman is, very encouraging. That she sees it in a neighborhood that she's been representing for a number of years, and I think that ripple effect is going to hit the rest of the county. I also think it is going to be picked up by other counties as well. I mean, this is something that is a very serious problem for the entire city.
Last month you shut down 12 of
Huh?
Last month you shut down 12 to 13 of
Yeah,
those.
last month we shut down 12 parlors. So I'm optimistic this is going to have a long-term, very, very positive effect. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks very much.